Hi, everyone. It's Mitch from pickdogs.com and sportschatplace.com here with the Puck Dogs. Today's topic is going to be value betting, and I think this is really the most important topic when it comes to betting. Certainly, if not the most, it's one of the most important topics. It's kind of this is how you win and lose, is finding value out there. You always hear people say things like risk reward. That's what value betting is all about. And, this is where opinion where your opinion goes out the window, where it's about quantifiable data, which is how ultimately you win. It might not be the most fun way to bet, but it certainly is the most fun way if you think winning is the most important thing and the most fun thing. So, day one of our full lockdown here in Maui. Tell you what, I'm already going crazy. It's not even light outside. I'm already going nuts. We're starting to hear more and more stories about the virus. It's certainly getting more and more real by the day. And a couple things that I'm already sick of, though. That I've already noticed day one is I'm sick of these emails from all these companies talking about what heroes they think they are for taking precautions now against the virus. It's like we're all basically forced to do these things at this point, and everyone's doing their part. I don't send them an email telling them what I'm doing. I don't want to hear about it, to be honest with you. I don't care. I really don't. I don't mean it to be insensitive. I don't mean it that they shouldn't be taking precautions. I mean that we're all taking precautions. I don't send Chris an email saying, "Man, I just washed my hands, for the 50th time today." And I'll send Rod a text saying, I just washed the bottoms of my shoes, because I stepped outside. It's like we're all doing our part, and I think this using it to talk about how great you are is getting offensive to me. Also, everyone's figuring out things, that they do now inside their house, kind of doing some things that they, probably have meant to do and have been procrastinating, and figuring out, why they really didn't want to do them, right? And, I've been using ketchup that expired in, mid 2019, all right, early 2019. I didn't know it, right? I bought it at Costco. I bought a 2-pack of these big ass ketchup. I've been using it. I used it last week. I just found out it expired maybe like April 2019 ish.
You're still good.
I'm not really sure. It's like, did I really even want to know that? And does it make a difference? Kind of makes you question these whole expiration date things.
Milk, you can tell it's got an expiration date for a reason.
You think, or you think they're just trying to sell you more ketchup? Isn't that the best buy date? Isn't it? It's best buy this date, but it's still good after.
It probably says best before date. So after that, it's at own risk. It might not be the best ketchup, but
this
still
just had this. I think this said sell before. Sell before like April 17th, 2019.
Wow.
I swear I used it last Thursday. I didn't even think twice about it.
I've eaten outdated ketchup. I'm still here.
Yeah, I've been eating out of date ketchup for a year. There's only 2 people in my house. We shop at Costco. We're buying bulk, It's like this is what happens.
That's what happens, yeah. Me and the wife too, yeah, same thing. Salad dressing, you go eat a salad dressing and you don't even realize that it's like, oh, this says it was best before 4 months ago. No, well, I feel all right.
So Howard Stern had an interesting interview yesterday, and I'm a big Howard Stern fan. I think he's the best interviewer there is. And he had a doctor on, and he asked him about all these things about the virus, and if they're true or not. And the ibuprofen versus Tylenol. The doctor says, internet rumor. Holding your breath for 10 seconds, internet rumor. You know, all these things. It was just like, it was nice that Howard asked somebody, because it's like, nope, I haven't seen anybody else address this crap. Kid, drinking warm liquids,
Gar-
internet rumor,
Gargling with salt water. I heard you're supposed to gargle with salt water because it's
internet
supposed to help
rumor,
clear the road. Yeah, more rumors.
all internet rumor. But anyways, today's show is going to be about value betting, and like I said, I'm certainly not downplaying the significance of the virus. If anything, I've taken it probably not seriously enough, and probably am starting to realize that more and more, every day. And it looks like China is kind of starting to get back out, and the the and so you can see there's another side to this. That there is another side, and we'll start to, like I said, we're going to start to see, as they see what happens in China with this, we're going to start to see plans here for what happens with this stuff, and how it actually is going to work. But anyways, in the meantime, we're going to use our time wisely, and I'm doing a lot of things behind the scenes. I just posted an article on the most rushing yards in the college football season. It's pretty exciting. We're doing a lot of those type of articles, stat-based lists, which I always liked. So I don't care. At this point, we don't have enough traffic on the site to pay for everything, so I'm paying for it so I can have what I want. Anyways, value betting. So the idea of value betting is risk reward. Is the payoff worth the risk? And yesterday in our parlays, we started to talk about, like, throwing in that big money line favorite, or a bunch of big money line favorites into a parlay. And, you could basically make it that if that team that would have paid you an extra, $100 on $20,000 ends up costing you your parlay, it's horrific. But even worse, even a minus 400, which we see in NHL, the Tampa Bay Lightning, right, recently lost as a minus 400 favorite. That takes 4 wins just to break even on something like that. And so stringing 4 wins together in a row just to get back to even. I mean, back to yesterday's conversation. How many 14 parlays do you hit? Because that's what it would take. Essentially that. Because if you went 4-1, well, then you're still in the hole, right? So,
Yep.
Chris, when you're initially looking at lines, what are some value things that you might look at, right out of the gate?
Well, I think for me, part of it's also just, and it's simple, but it's looking at who's favored and who's the underdog, and just comparing side by side. I'll look at for example, college basketball lines. Sometimes I'll take a look at them, and if I see, I don't know, Eastern Michigan's playing Kentucky, and somehow Eastern Michigan's favored, I'm gonna ask questions and be like, why are they favored? Why, is there something I'm missing? And if everything's level, there's value there with Kentucky. Obviously, Kentucky's one of the best teams in the country, but you have to, I'd say, do the research on it first, because there's a reason that any line is the way it is.
And how about you, Rod? What are some things that you look for?
For me, a value bet is where the probability of a given outcome is greater than what the book. So you go through the list and you look and say, hey, okay, here's this game, and you think it's good. It should be a 3-point, 4-point game, but the odds are like 9. That's where I find like a value bet. It's kind of basically you're cherry picking the card. You find spots that there's a greater, what I find is a greater win on your side than the bookmaker. Is what I look for. Like you go in and you look, like, say, for example, in hockey, and you got Washington. Washington's at plus 105. Well, why is Washington an underdog and they're playing like San Jose? Well, that to me, there's value there on having a plus 105.
So, anyways, some of the I think some of the things that we look for in you know in value betting, to me it seems going against public opinion is generally where you find the best value. At least for me, we see a lot of people on here talk about they talk about things like this player is out or this player is out, and you'll see the line move big numbers on a guy being out or not being out. But generally, most of these games are team sports, so I'm just not really sure, like, if that's where the value is. I think for me, it's like I could usually find value going the other way in a situation like that, where especially in the point spread sports like NBA or college basketball, or college basketball is tougher because one player is going to have a bigger impact than in a pro sport where the NBA or the NFL, where everybody can play except for there's some backup quarterbacks that obviously make some big differences. But like we saw Teddy Bridgewater go into Seattle and absolutely bust up the Seahawks, right? What do you think about injuries and value? Because it's definitely something that could go both ways. It's rare that someone like us is going to find out the injury before the news hits, which is where the value would be, right?
In the NBA, you get lucky a few times where you take a side before that news does hit, and you get lucky. But for me as well, I find public will jump on they'll hear the injury and they'll panic and be like, oh, bet against that. And sometimes that's not always the case. Just because there's somebody out doesn't mean that the next guy up who's coming into his spot isn't going to have a huge game and be the first star.
Yeah, I mean, and we're all also got to consider we're in the era of load management now. So sometimes they won't even tell us who's resting until like 10, 15 minutes before tip off, or the injury report won't update. I mean, it's getting harder and harder with sports like the NBA, who are ushering in the load management to sort of cherry pick those games. But you get sort of a feel for teams that don't usually have the load management schedule. I've kind of tried to key in on those teams at least a little bit to sort of try to make my life a little bit easier when it comes to that.
Well, I think we have a question. It's like, is it wise to play money line dogs? I would say if there's value there, if the value is there. Sometimes it's better in baseball to not play the game at all. It's like, there's three ways to, people look at it. There's only two ways to play it. You play the favorite or you play the underdog. You play the home team or you play the visiting team. But there's that third choice of not playing that game at all. And I think, I've talked about this in other videos, and it's something that we will, address, because we have time. But I think if that's your strategy and that's what you always do, then yeah, and you found that it worked, it's as good a strategy as any. If you only play money line dogs in baseball, it's a rare day where favorites sweep the board in baseball. It's a very rare day. I mean, very, very, very rare day. So, I don't think betting moneyline dogs is a horrible bet. But, when you look at the betting statistics at the end of the year, it's usually fairly even. So, you have to, like anything else, you have to pick your spots. and see where that is. A lot of it has to do with matchups, and a lot of it has to do with just public opinion, on certain players and certain situations, and like anything, a little bit of luck never hurt anyone either.
Yeah.
Speaking about luck, so we're in this lockdown thing for this corona, and it's like last night we get on TV, tsunami warning, huge earthquake in Japan.
Hey.
It's like, how about if we throw in the tsunami warning? It's like, what the hell, man? Anyways,
Surf's up. We'll watch the waves come in. Hope it's not that big a tsunami. Hope it's not that big a tsunami.
no, I hope not either.
How big was the earthquake?
It was 7.8.
Ooh, that's a pretty good one.
Yep. You know that a tsunami wave moves about the speed of a jet. That's how fast the waves are traveling.
That's how fast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's not.
It's. I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny. But it's like the thing that you always see when you have the tsunami warnings here. There's always like a few surfers head out to the beach like you're gonna see this giant wave or something. Dude, we're gonna surf this thing. Shaka. It's like it's really not how it works. The way the tsunami works is generally it's like it's a giant wave way out there, and it hits, and then the whole water level just by the time it hits land, it's just the water level just really rises up very, very high. Yeah. They say you got to be at least 40 feet above sea level for the tsunami, when the tsunami comes.
Yeah,
is the idea. And we have down by the beaches here, there's evacuation routes everywhere, signs marked.
Well, at least the island's quiet.
Yeah.
You can evacuate quick if you have to.
It is quiet. There's 2 golf courses that remained open throughout all this. At least 2 that I know of. There might be more. So I'm going to maybe tomorrow give the dunes another crack. It got me yesterday, man. It was so windy out there. Link style golf. 30-mile-an-hour winds. I hit a 7-iron on a par 3 that was 135 yards, which normally I'd be hitting a 9-iron, and I was still 10 yards short and in the water. It was just really difficult conditions. Knockdown wind. Hey. It was really tough. So, what are some other situations where we might find some value, maybe even going? Because a lot of people, they do like to play favorites, and when would a big favorite still be value? I mean, yesterday I talked a little bit about Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor, and there really was no odds, that weren't going to make that a value bet on Mayweather in that fight, because there are a few gimmies in the world, and of course Mayweather could have easily taken a dive there and crushed everybody, but not really something that he's known for or does. But what are some situations where you think you could find some value on a favorite? I know in hockey we've talked about goalie changes. Sometimes in college you have guys who have to sit out the first half because of targeting, and then they come back the second half. Could create some value too.
Yeah, I think. Well, for me, I think you touched on it. Goalie changes for hockey. I mean, if you go into it, like the odd times you thought you were going to bet Detroit because Jonathan Bernier was in net, and then last minute you find out that Jimmy Howard's starting, it's just like, okay, run the other way, or start cash out your bet if you can, because Detroit's not winning that game. But I mean, it's I think it's about keying on players that you have a good feel for. I would say for goaltending in hockey at least, or pitchers in baseball that you have a good feeling on.
How about you, Rod? Anything?
For your value bet is what's building your bankroll. These are the bets that you're going to make that are your higher odds, that you feel are your higher odds for you to win. So you're gonna For me, I think a value bet is where you're going to bet a little higher on the single game, and then it's also you I don't know, you find this one bet and you really love this bet, and we're all like, yeah, we love this bet. This is the best one ever. And then like you say what you do, you parlay that with everything for the day.
Yeah,
that's
it's
that's it's
those are
rare.
rare for me. I know a lot of people seem to find more of those than I do,
But you can find those, and then you find, and you just feel really confident about these things, your numbers back, your stats, everything that you've done, and you're like, I really love this bet.
yeah, it's
And
just
those are the ones that that's what I find. I think of a value bet. That's what's building your bankroll.
I mean,
And right now, value bets on esports. I don't know how you can.
yeah.
I'm so lost.
yeah. I'm lost on the esport thing too.
Purple pink chicken versus blue roadrunners. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
even understand it.
so,
I
some,
understand the game when they go there like map 1 and map 2, and I'm like, okay, well, yes, they play each other 3 times and best of 3 wins, but it's like, holy man, no.
With esports, it's just a decision. It's like how far outside of our comfort zone are we willing to go just to bet on something? You
I'll
know?
I'll stick with the horses.
Yeah,
That's my comfort zone. I'll stay with that. And then the odd, I'll like this Belarus hockey playoffs. It's not bad because it's some teams that I've heard of, and you can actually, when you look at the players, it's like, okay, I've heard of some of these guys.
yeah. So back to value betting. I think for me, you'll hear me a lot on the show talk about these types of bets. Because just basically, where statistical probability of an outcome is just way different than the odds on the game. So even if it doesn't seem like it's on the surface the smartest play in the world, betting against Walker Buehler, betting against Clayton Kershaw, betting against Justin Verlander, the statistical probability of the event occurring um, is there. It's there, and the odds are there for you. It's for the taking. Um, you know, the general public about anything, the coronavirus, what could, the shutdown of the NBA season. How many people in January would have bet, that they would shut down the NBA season, that they would cancel March Madness? But these are events that happened, and if you bet the stock market, you could have bet these things, I mean, it doesn't happen in most sports books, they didn't have these options, but basically there were bets you could make in the stock market, shorting specific companies that you could have played these events to occur. So the general public will underestimate the probability of these things happening because they don't want them to happen. They don't want to think about it. It's like, I mean, in February when,
Yep.
We'd heard about the virus spreading throughout China, and places like that, we didn't even consider like a contingency plan of any kind.
No,
I
we
was
took it as a
covering
joke.
esports.
We sent memes all over the place.
Yeah.
It's the beer virus.
Yep.
Get your limes. Like, really?
get your lines.
Yeah, get your limes.
Yep. And now it's Carl Anthony Towns is out there on
Yeah.
Instagram talking about how
Prayers for his mother who's in an
yeah.
induced coma. Like,
Who's better, Foles or Wentz? On the Eagles, Foles. In
oh,
general,
Yeah.
I would say they're about even, but
yeah.
Yeah.
on the Eagles, Foles certainly has accomplished a lot more than Wentz ever has.
Well, it depends on what we're talking about. Who's better at being on the injury list? And it's Carson Wentz.
Well, but who's
It's an upgrade for the Bears, so couldn't have got any worse than what they had last year.
yeah.
where does Cam Newton go? Cam Newton and
New England.
Jameis Winston are kind of the big names out there.
New England.
I think he goes to New England now that he's officially got his release.
I really think New England. They both could end up in New England.
I don't think Jameis Winston's going to New England. I think if he was going to New England, he'd be in New England.
Yeah.
At this point.
I think Cam goes to New England.
All right. Well, you guys got anything else to add for today?
I think for me, the last kind of driving point I just wanted to say is just familiarize yourself with whatever you're kind of going in for to try to find value. Like it's easy for me because a lot of these college games I would be writing on a Saturday or whatever, and I would try to sit there maybe on a Friday afternoon, see what games are out there, and maybe just look at records and just try to say, oh, you know what, maybe who I think is going to be favored, maybe by how much. If I'm keying in on a marquee game, I'd be like, okay, maybe. Texas Tech's going to be favored over Kentucky by 3, but I like Kentucky. Well, lean towards Kentucky. If it's Kentucky -7, or if it's Texas Tech -7, I think I'm definitely going to go with Kentucky. But it's just like familiarize yourself with the teams and sort of maybe project lines in your head, and then if it's way off from what the books are saying, go with it accordingly. But I would just say familiarize yourself.
I don't know. I think the Tom Brady versus Drew Brees thing is overhyped. I think, I'm a big believer that it was Belichick, not Brady. So
I think Tampa Bay wins under.
Bruce Arians is a good coach too. He's a good coach.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up for today. Not a ton to talk about. We'll probably have more tomorrow. I'm going to guess we'll start hearing something from these leagues, whether they're going to play or not play. The Olympics is postponed.
The NHL yesterday.
Yeah, they could have held the Olympics. I still wouldn't have noticed any difference. I'm not an Olympic person.
I don't. Is it Summer Olympics or Winter Olympics? I don't even know which Olympics it was.
Winter is 2022, so it's summer for Tokyo.
Yeah. See, then what am I going to watch? I might watch the 100-meter. See who's the fastest guy. Other than that, I'm not watching.
Yeah, see here. So back to the value betting. The general consensus is the Patriots aren't going to be very good. See,
yeah.
I like the other side of that. If Bill Belichick is the coach, I love the other side of that one, big time. Yeah. He's won with Jacoby Brissett. He's won with Matt Castle. He's won with Doug Flutie. He's won with it's like, believe me, it doesn't matter. I could play quarterback.
That defense is still good.
They're still going to win games.
The Patriots still have a great D.
They have the best coach.
You just need a quarterback that can just manage the game. That's all he's looking for. Belichick. Quarterback that can manage the game.
Anyways, we're going to call it a day. We'll see everyone tomorrow, same time. Hopefully I have a little bit more gas in the tank. But we will see you. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a good one.